1. The Silent Sentinel. High above the shifting winds and quiet forests, there stood a mountain unlike any other. He had no name in the world of men, though the birds called him Elder and the rivers whispered Stoneheart. The mountain simply thought of himself as the one who waited. For centuries he stood, unmoving and steady, his peaks brushed by clouds, his base rooted deep into the earth. Trees climbed his sides, and moss softened the edges of his ancient stone. Snow came and melted. Rain carved paths across his body. Yet the mountain never minded. Time was his companion. The mountain had once believed he was placed here with a purpose. He didn't know what it was, but he trusted that it would come someday. So he waited. He watched generations of birds come and go, hawks soaring high, swallows darting swiftly, crows cawing their mysterious songs. He watched the forest stretch, burn, and regrow. He listened to the river speak in all its seasons. Icy whispers, springtime gurgles, summer rushes, autumn sighs. And still, he waited. The mountain never complained. Patience, after all, was as natural to him as breathing is to us. 2. The First Footsteps. One morning, long after even the oldest tree had forgotten the first sunrise it saw, the mountain felt something different, a soft pressure on one of his lower trails. Footsteps. They were small, light, hesitant. Not the paws of deer or the scratch of fox claws. These were human feet. Soft boots worn from use, each step carefully chosen. The mountain focused his attention downward. A young girl was climbing him. Her hair was tied in 2 braids, and her pack was much too large for her frame. She stopped often, not out of weakness, but to look at the birds, at the curve of a branch, at a beetle crawling across a mossy stone. She was not rushing to the top. She was not trying to conquer. She was simply curious. The mountain liked her instantly.
She camped for one night at a small clearing halfway up. She laid on her back, arms behind her head, and whispered, "You're quiet, but I feel like you're listening." The mountain almost smiled. The next morning, she left behind a tiny stone carved with a spiral placed at the base of a pine. Then she was gone. The mountain didn't know her name, but he remembered her, and he waited again.
3. The Years That Passed. More people came after that, some with gear and flags, some with loud music and shouting. Some wanted to say they had conquered the mountain, as if that were possible. They came fast and left faster. They left trash sometimes. The mountain didn't hold it against them. He had seen many kinds of travelers. Still, he missed the girl with the spiral stone. Decades passed. The spiral stone weathered. Moss grew on it, but the mountain never disturbed it. There were storms, ferocious, long and howling, winds that screamed like wolves, lightning that scarred his high cliffs. But always the mountain held firm. He didn't resist the weather, he welcomed it. It reminded him that life was always moving, even when he could not. One year there was fire. The forest at his feet burned in great orange waves. Birds fled, animals scattered. Smoke cloaked him for days. When the rain finally came, it felt like tears. But in time, new green shoots pushed through the ash. And so, he waited.
4. The Return. Then one day, a woman came. Older now, her braids replaced by a gray bun tucked under a cap, her gait slower but still steady. She had the same eyes. The mountain remembered instantly. She climbed without rush, just as before, and stopped at the old pine. She saw the spiral stone, faded but still there. She sat beside it and said softly, "You kept it." The mountain could have wept if he had eyes. She camped again, but this time she lit no fire. Instead, she unfolded a small notebook and with a pencil began to draw. Trees, rocks, the way the light filtered through the clouds. Then she wrote, "The mountain is not just stone. It remembers, it watches, and it waits for those who come with open hearts." When she left the next morning, she placed a second stone next to the first. This one had a heart etched into it. And again she was gone. But this time the mountain knew she would return.
The Seasons of the Spirit. Years became decades again. The woman no longer came, but others did. One boy arrived with his father, who showed him the heartstone and the spiral. "Your grandmother carved those," he said. "She said this mountain taught her how to listen." The boy was quiet for a long time. Then he laid his hand on the old pine. "I think it's still listening." The mountain felt warmth in that touch. From that day on, the path to the pine clearing slowly changed. People came, not to conquer, but to connect. Hikers left small carved stones, stars, moons, feathers. Some stayed overnight just to sit in silence. Children asked their parents, "Why does this place feel calm?" No one knew exactly, but the mountain did. He wasn't just a peak of rock and ice. He was a witness, a keeper of memory. He had waited for someone to see him, not as a challenge, but as a companion. And in the waiting, he had found his purpose.
The quiet legacy. Now the mountain still waits. He knows the ones who rush past him. He blesses them anyway. But his heart is in the slow footsteps, the curious eyes, the ones who pause by the spiral stone. Sometimes a child lays a new carving there, then looks up and whispers, "Thank you." He listens, always. And the wind that brushes over his slopes carries a song older than words. Wait long enough, and even the stillest stone may teach the soul how to grow. The mountain smiles, and he waits.